Hi there, you. By all indications, you're listening to Miracles in Manhattan again. Thanks for tuning in. This is the episode that deals with Lesson 4. It's also the first episode that contains some bonus content that we decided to throw in after the lesson turned out to be compact, effective, and pretty fun. And seeing as it's the 4th of July coming up and we have the liberty and freedom to kind of put whatever content we want onto this thing, we chose some that we thought might bring a smile to your face and remind you that you're listening to something with an explicit tag. Real quick, I will say thank you to Cheated Steeler Fan and Miss with a Y-O. These are two people who took the time to write a review on iTunes, and for that, Steph and I are super grateful. And while there is nothing to stop you from also hitting that 5-star button on your phone or telling a friend about this podcast, it's paramount to us that you, first and foremost, have a good time with it. So please do that and enjoy your holiday and keep living your okayest life. I hope that works for you. Bye.
You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied.
Right, I like that line quite a bit. Speaking of dates, do you have anything for this weekend?
Oh, fuck. Well...
My brain is racing. I'm like, what is sexual proficiency and where do I get it?
This thought about fill in the blank does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room.
Okay, doing it.
Yeah, doing it.
I'm doing it.
Tell me.
No, it's okay.
What's happening? I mean, I apologize to him. I mean, he was so confident and so, all in. I didn't slow anything down. I apologized to him for that. I should have known better. I'm the older person here, and I should have known better. But he was so taking the lead and so confident, seemingly, but apparently he wasn't really. And he did say, look, my animal instincts just kick in, and I just can't control myself. And so, like, part of the time he says to me, let's just do something casual, or do you mind if we don't have like crazy hot sex? Do you mind, if you just, I'm like, no, whatever. But then the next sentence is, I want to fuck you senseless. You know what I mean? So it's like, so, yeah.
It makes sense. It's very typical of a kind of male ego to be very self-assured in your desires, and then when it comes time to actualize them, to panic. Or
is it?
I don't know. I sort of think so. I think it's mainly what I've heard from other people. People who talk about...
You heard from other people? What? You don't panic when you...
No, I don't have these panic. And by the end, his hair growing out of his face and he's withering away.
Oh, my goodness.
Withering away until he basically disappears. It's like a Kafka fucking story.
Whoa. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room. Lesson 4?
Hey, yeah, lesson... welcome back to Miracles in Manhattan. I'm Marco, and I'm here with the Reverend Stephanie Wild, as I am each week. Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Yeah, so we're on lesson 4 today.
Okay.
Let me read lesson 4 of A Course in Miracles. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room. So here we are, lessons 1, 2, and 3 were helping us to practice believing that we give meaning to everything we see, and nothing that we see means anything in and of itself. So here we're practicing that belief with our thoughts. We're applying that to our thoughts. These thoughts do not mean anything. So let me read some of the instructions. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for this idea. But don't select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they can represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. That is why they do not mean anything. So, in selecting the subjects for the application of today's lesson, do the usual thing, be specific, but don't choose anything in particular. Don't be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad, because, and here is the mind-blowing part, there's usually a mind-blowing part in each lesson.
Yeah.
Because none of these thoughts represent real thoughts. Our real thoughts are covered up by these thoughts. The good thoughts are but shadows of what lies beyond. And these shadows make sight difficult.
Okay.
The bad thoughts are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You don't want either. So these thoughts that are running around in our mind are not real. And they're blocking true thought. So they're blocking us from seeing what is reality. Okay. So it goes on here. This is a major exercise.
This particular one?
This particular one, lesson 4, and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It's the first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside of us and the meaningful as within. So these thoughts are outside of us. These thoughts don't mean anything. They're just like everything that we see in this room.
Right.
So we've been practicing, this table doesn't mean anything, this chair doesn't mean anything. And now these thoughts don't mean anything. These thoughts that are just running around, they're neither good nor bad. They're just there. They're just thoughts, and they are blocking true reality, true thoughts.
Right. Okay. So values are interrupting true perception of things.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So here's the little script that we can use for this exercise. So we go, this thought about, fill in the blank, does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room.
Okay. Doing it.
Yeah, doing it.
I'm doing it.
Tell me what's happening.
No. So cool.
What's happening?
I was thinking about different people, which I think is maybe more complicated than things to use as an example. Don't you?
Well, you can use thoughts about people. Don't think about don't apply it to the people. You're applying it to the thoughts about the people.
So that's trickier then, right? Because in that case, I was just picturing a person and wasn't really thinking about the feelings I was having. Now I'm good. Okay, proceed.
Well, that's it.
Okay, right.
Don't examine your mind for more than a minute or so. We are advised here, you are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied.
Right, I like that line quite a bit.
Do not repeat this more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So we're just getting our muscles going.
Yeah,
so do it for a minute, 3 or 4 times during the day, different times of the day. And you're going to say to yourself, this thought about my date last night doesn't mean anything. This thought about my divorce doesn't mean anything. It's like the things I see in this room. This thought about my financial situation doesn't mean anything. It's just like the things I see in this room.
Right. So this is a moment where the course is kind of asking you to kind of take a bit of a leap of faith, because it's not offering the solution to the anxiety or that you might get from those things, right? It's just saying, rest assured that much like the things in that room, also your thoughts about things don't mean anything and more will be revealed. It sounds like.
Yeah. I think that's why it doesn't. It warns us not to do it more than 3 or 4 times during the day, and not for more than a minute each, because then we don't have to be anxious. We just try it out for a minute.
Right.
4 minutes in total out of 24 hours. Just try it.
Right.
And then you can stop, and then you can go back to your.
Yeah. You can go back to mowing your lawn in Manhattan, which apparently somebody's doing. Interestingly. Okay.
So I was doing this, so I knew we were coming up to lesson 4 today, and I was doing this last night and this morning a little bit about that young guy that I've been dating.
Right. More on that in the bonus podcast.
And, or I should say that I've not been dating, because he keeps cancelling. He's cancelled like 6 times, but keeps calling me and inviting me out and stuff. And so, I'd get excited about the day. Oh, I'm going to see him finally. And then he'd cancel. Right. And then I'd go, oh, for God's sake. And then I'd just go, hey, these thoughts don't mean anything. And I'd believe it. And I'd say, yeah, no, they don't mean anything. I'm going to go on with my day. I'm okay. I'm in contact with spirit. I'm in contact with true love. I'm fine here. I'm having my oatmeal that I love, and then I'm going to get a coffee and come and do my podcast. And
that's right.
Everything's good. Everything's good. Doesn't mean anything. These thoughts. I don't. Well, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I was just going to say that seems that is important, is because if it encourages you, it sounds like it encourages you to be less wrapped up in a single thing and focus on the wealth of other things that don't have that same feeling attached to it.
Maybe, although those thoughts don't mean anything either. But
you're not worried about your oatmeal all that much. I mean, it's
right. That's true.
I guess what I'm saying is
that's true. Yeah,
worrying about having. Just knowing that there is a wealth of things in the world to engage your perception, or to kind of I don't know.
Yeah, to engage your perception.
It's whatever the opposite of obsessing is, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think that's slightly different, because I want to just say that there's a lot of dating advice. Women are often advised to distract themselves. From worrying whether he's going to text, or worrying about him cancelling, or feeling rejected, or whatever. Right. And women advise each other, go get a manicure, go do something for yourself, go do this. And it's distraction. So I want to make sure that what you're saying is not that.
No, I think what you're saying now is a great way to set up, delineates what I was saying from that maybe. I think I was just focusing on that there's danger in making one thought the center of your reality.
Oh yeah, totally,
right?
totally.
And I'm not saying that you need to like flit around the world and flit around the room, being like, oh, what's that, and distract yourself. But I'm just saying that focusing too much on one thing is a great way to forget about everything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think
But that's interesting. I didn't really know that people were advised like that.
Women. Because he didn't call. What does it mean? Oh my God, fuck, these thoughts don't mean anything, ladies. Right. Just don't listen when dating coaches tell you distract yourself. Oh my God, no, because you're just again getting into some other meaningless shit. You're just getting into some other meaningless thoughts. No, don't do that. Do this instead. These thoughts don't mean anything. Okay, so tune in, and then tune into your higher power. Get in touch with that true love. That's real happiness. That's true perception. Don't go and hang on to some other thoughts. Get rid of this illusion and go deep into true perception. And upcoming lessons will help us to do that. But yeah, I hate that advice. Go distract yourself. And I especially hate it when they say, go get yourself a pedicure. Why? So that you can be ready when he does call? God, I hate that.
Yeah, that does sound kind of
go do some whitewater rafting or something, for God's sake. Like seriously, write a book. Like, I don't know.
Get a tattoo. I mean, something you'll really...
But not with his name on it.
Right, exactly.
And the time that he didn't text you.
Yeah. I mean, that'll distract you in a lot of ways, but and you'll really have something to think about afterwards. Oh, man. I want to hear more about this advice and where you're getting it from. But it tracks. It rings very true.
It's everywhere. It's, you know, in Facebook groups, dating groups. I'm not going to call them out specifically, but...
You know who you are.
And it's in some dating books, you know,
Okay.
I've read, you know. It's in women having cocktails with each other. Oh,
Right.
come out with us. Oh, get drunk. Oh, you know, let's go get a pedicure. You know, let's go to the spa. Let's just do something.
I will say getting drunk, getting fucked up is a great way to accomplish all of the things we were just talking about, but not the best way to do it.
No, because those feelings and thoughts don't go away. They just get
That's
invisible
right.
for a bit. But then they're still there. They're still there, and they become pain bodies. They become thought forms, and then they become pain bodies,
Yeah.
and then they're just, or part of your pain body, and then they don't go away. They never die, and then they cause you to get sick, or
Yeah.
you know, act out on the next guy that doesn't call, and you know, then you're all like, oh, he's a fucking asshole. When really, you know, his grandfather fell down the stairs and he had to go to the hospital. You know,
Right,
like,
and that's where why he stopped
Yeah.
sending you emoticons or whatever it is.
yeah.
You know.
So these thoughts don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And just tune in a bit deeper. Don't just go off and distract yourself with other thoughts.
Right on. Awesome. Well, speaking of tune in real soon later this week or the top of next week for lesson 5.
All right.
All right. It's been great chatting. Thanks for tuning in. This
Love
has been
you.
Miracles in Manhattan. Love you too. Bye. All right.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was great.
This episode of Miracles Manhattan is a co-production of Wild Stories and Rogue Signal Studios. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment. It takes just a second and it helps us reach a broader audience.
And if you have any questions for us, email us at miraclesinmanhattan@gmail.com. We may be able to answer your question on a future episode. If you want to join our Facebook community where everyone is walking through A Course in Miracles together, you can find us at A Course in Miracles with the Wild Reverend. And you can also find us on Twitter at Wild Manhattan.
Speaking of dates, do you have anything for this weekend?
Fuck. Well, made a date and cancelled it, and I think he's trying to make another date with me again. He's done that twice.
Oh, nice.
This was his invitation just now. The 3 emojis there.
The first one is one of my favorites. The sort of speculative professor
With a monocle.
The monocle.
So I think it means, the monocle, I think it means, hey, what are you doing? Or something. Like, I'm wondering what you're doing or something.
Okay, yeah.
And then the second one is with sunglasses. So I think
That means cool.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm thinking it's a sunny day, kind of, because it is a
Okay.
beautiful, perfect day. Everyone's going on
Gotcha.
about how perfect today is. And then there's 2 swimming emojis. So I was wondering if you're saying, do you want to go to the beach?
Yeah, I was wondering, it's a nice day. Do you want to go swimming or to the beach?
Yeah. So I wrote back. I said, you're asking me to go to the beach.
Are
Or
you using pictures to invite me to the
are
beach?
you acknowledging that you noticed that I was really, really homesick for the beach? And then I just said, hey, it's cute, whatever it is. And, I haven't heard from him, and it's like an hour later. So whatever. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, he's says he's feeling rushed, although
Ooh, he said that he told you that he was feeling rushed?
yeah, but I don't.
Is it because you're going to die sooner than he is?
I have my theory, but at the same time, he calls me up for video chats and gets naked and, expresses his massive desire for me, and then says his mind's playing tricks, and then he's worried about things. He's very confident, very aggressive, not in a bad way. And he's told me, he's never nervous around women, but he is around me.
Right.
And it makes me think back to when I was dating older men, when I was his age, and I felt the way that I've just described. So that's my theory, because the older men, they were so sexually proficient, but not horribly aggressive, nothing like that, but just much more in tune than like a 20-year-old guy,
In bed.
Well, we didn't really get that far, but just making out, just in the initial in the flirtation, in the seductive beginnings. And my body and mind and spirit would respond like so strongly. I wasn't in control. I didn't know what was happening. I knew what was happening. I just was out of, and it was scary.
My brain is racing. I'm like, what is sexual proficiency and where do I get it?
Well, maybe you just need to date a 20-year-old and then that would come across that way. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It makes sense. It's very typical of a kind of male ego to be very self-assured in your desires, and then when it comes time to actualize them, to panic or to. Is it? I don't know. I sort of think so. I think it's mainly what I've heard from other people. People who talk about...
You heard from other people? What? You don't panic when you...
No, I don't have these panics. Like people talk about having shame after they masturbate. Because that's not to take us into this like very specific place, but masturbation is a total act of unmitigated id, right? It's like, this is my desire. I'm focusing entirely on that. There's nothing else. And the moment it's over for some dudes, I guess, or for anybody who might feel shameful.
Well, a lot of women don't even do it. They feel so ashamed, yeah.
See, that's the interesting thing. I don't think that I think that there isn't a guy who would have the forethought not to do it because he felt shame, but would just be like, I'm doing this and I'll feel bad afterwards.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that's probably similar. I mean, and that's it. I mean, aren't we taught, or back in the bad old dark old days, like you'll go blind if you masturbate?
Oh my God, I've seen pamphlets. When I was taking history of sexuality, the class based on the Foucault book, the prof brought in all of these just photocopies of texts from like 1875 or something like that in France. Oh. And they were school materials to be distributed by teachers, and they read like comic books because they were in panels, and it just showed a young boy, and I remember, I'll never forget it. It's like the first image, and the drawings are so crude, but it was this like boy sitting up in bed, and it's like, look at young Jean-Jacques. He's a bright boy gleaming in the eyes of his mother. And then
it's the mother.
Yeah, and then like as you get in, like of course they don't show the scene where he's jerking off, but like they say, this is the morning after he's done this for the first time, and he feels sad and ashamed. And then like right away they go from like panel 3 is that, panel 4 he looks like a cancer, like stage 3 cancer.
Oh, whoa.
Right. And by the end, his hair growing out of his face, and he's withering away.
Oh my goodness.
Withering away until he basically disappears. It's like a Kafka fucking story.
Whoa.
And then just to like rewind, that was handed out in schools, right?
Yeah.
Wow.